What's going on? Welcome to this Rexing V5 modular dashcam review and complete how-to video. If you're considering this dashcam, this is the video you want to watch. Not only will I go over everything you should know about this dashcam, but I'll sprinkle the video with footage and must-know tips. Make sure you check out the video description for links to this camera and to specific parts of the video. I have a lot to go over, so let's get to it. In the box, you'll find some obligatory paperwork, a mini USB cable for file transfer, a cigarette adapter plug for the camera, 2 mounting brackets, a quick start guide, a panel removal tool to aid in the installation, the main camera body itself, and I note here that it's only the main camera in this box, the modular attachments are separate, and finally you'll get some 3M tape and some cable management clips. Most notable of all of the camera's features is that it is a modular camera, which means that you can add other cameras to it to increase its functionality, like this rear camera right here, which is meant to go inside the cabin on the rear windshield and record 170 degrees behind the car simultaneously. They have a waterproof version as well, which you can install outside of the car to suit your needs. You can also get an inside cabin camera attachment, which I have right here, and that is meant to plug in directly to the main body and record inside the cabin. It does have built-in infrared lights, so it's able to record both day and night, and this is a great choice for anyone who does ride sharing like Uber or Lyft. Other notable features are built-in GPS, real 4K recording, Wi-Fi, and parking monitor. On the front side of the camera, we have the lens, and regardless of the angle of your particular windshield, you're going to be able to adjust this to compensate. We have 2 vents for heat dissipation and also for the dash cam's internal speaker. On the side here, you have a powered mini USB plug. You're going to plug in your cigarette lighter adapter here or your hard wiring kit if you bought one. Right below it, you have your micro SD card slot, and all you do is push that in and the card comes right out. And below it, you have the port for the modular camera if you have one. So right here, I have the rear facing camera, and that would plug into that spot right there. If you bought the weatherproof outside camera instead, you would plug that camera into that same spot. On the underside, and by the way, this is just a sticker that I put on here as a visual aid, we have a reset button in case your camera freezes. Next to it, we have a power button, a menu button. You're going to have 2 directional buttons and then an OK button because the screen is not touchscreen. On this side right here, we have another mini USB plug, and this one right here is actually for your cabin modular attachment. So you plug it in there as such, and that's how you convert your main camera into a dual dash cam that also records into the cabin. So let's go over each of these buttons, and they each have several different functions depending on whether you short or long press them and depending on which shooting mode you're in. Short pressing the OK button will start and stop the recording on the fly, but when you long press the OK button, it'll toggle Wi-Fi on and off, and that's useful so that you don't have to go through the menus to do it. Let me long press it again to close Wi-Fi and start the recording back up. This first directional button right here, when you short press it, it'll toggle sound recording on and off, as you can see from the icon right here. If you long press on that button, it'll show you the current GPS status. The other directional button allows you to cycle between the different cameras according to your own preference when you short press it. When you long press it, it'll lock the current recording, and it puts it in a special folder so that it is not overwritten. And that's a very useful thing to know, not only so that the file is not overwritten, but also to be able to easily find it later, since you can have hundreds of video files. If you short press the power button, you will turn the screen on and off. That won't turn the camera off, just the screen. To turn the camera off completely, you have to long press on the power button. So I'm going to stop the recording here to show you how to change modes. Right now we are on video recording mode, so I'm going to long press the menu button, and that's going to put me in photo mode, as you can see right up here. We'll get back to that, but if you long press it again, it'll take me to file review mode, and here I can browse through all of the files in the camera. When I find the one I want, I can hit OK to play it. If I want to speed up the video a bit, I can hit this first directional button, and that'll toggle between 2, 4, and 8 times the speed. Now, if I start pushing that second directional button, I can actually reverse the video speed. So if you need to review files on the fly, this is how you can accomplish that in camera. Hitting the menu button again allows me to delete or protect files, and long pressing that button takes me back to video mode. From here, I can short press it again to get into my video settings. You can see all of the resolution choices right here. The max is ultra high definition, which is 4K at 30 frames per second if you're just using the main camera. Now, if you have a modular camera attached to it, like I do right here, and you're recording both, you can still get 4K, but only at 24 frames per second. The modular cameras, on the other hand, only record up to full high definition or 1080p. I do wish that the camera offered higher frame rates as an option. Maybe someday as a firmware update it'll become available, but as of right now, this is it. Loop recording allows you to select your video length between 1, 2, or 3 minutes. The shorter the file, the more files you'll generate. I set mine to 3 minutes. Second camera selection allows you to select which modular camera to record. I happen to have both the cabin camera and the rear view camera, and it is very unfortunate that you cannot record all 3 cameras at once. So while this camera is modular, and as of right now it has 3 camera choices that you can add to it, it is still a dual dash cam because it will only allow you to record 2 cameras. Wide dynamic range allows the camera to automatically set the exposure to get the most detail in the highlights and in the shadows. The video looks better with it on, as you can see right here, so I just always leave that on. The EV, that's your exposure compensation. The camera automatically sets the exposure. However, if for whatever reason you want the video brighter, you can make it brighter by going into the positive here, or you can make it darker by going into the negative. Most of the time, the default of 0 is just fine. The IR light setting right here allows you to set your cabin's camera's infrared lights on, off, or auto. The cabin camera has 4 infrared lights to light up the cabin at night to get clear video. Now, I say light up, but infrared is invisible, so you will only see the effects on the video. That camera also has a light sensor, so it can turn those lights on and off automatically. You can toggle the audio recording on and off right here. You can select whether to show the date stamp on the video like you see right here. The G sensor allows you to set the sensitivity of the gravity sensor. If you set it too high and your roads are rough, you can get a lot of false alarms and protected files, so you have to experiment a little bit. For me, medium does the job. This camera does offer parking monitor, but as you can see, you have to install a smart hardwire kit for it to work. I have already done that and made a very detailed how-to video, so I'll link that up above and in the video description. As of the release of this video, the only available parking mode is this G sensor trigger, which means that the dash cam will turn on for 20 seconds if this sensor is triggered, like if your car is hit while you're parked. On the product page of Rexon's website, it states that the camera supports 24/7 recording through a time-lapse mode, but that is not yet available. I hope that through a firmware update very soon that they add the ability to change the length of the video from 20 seconds and that they add different modes like time-lapse. One thing I will say about the hardwire kit is that you can always just turn on the camera manually after you park your car and start your recording. And that way, if you're, say, going into the store, your camera will be recording the entire time once you do that. And of course, since it's a smart hardwire kit, the camera won't let the battery die on you. Number plates allow you to hard code your plate information on the video if you so desire. This is what it looks like right here. These next two, LDWS and FCWS, those are your lane departure warning and your forward collision warning. I have absolutely no intention of using these. I turned them on just to try them out for this video, and the lane departure warning would beep constantly and it gets confused easily in heavy traffic. I would not buy this dash cam for those features. They might be much more useful in the future when they fix them through a firmware update, but as of right now, it's best just to leave them off. You can set daylight savings time, and you can change the speed unit that shows on the video. You can also turn it off altogether from here. And finally, you can set your time zone. Now, if you back out and hit the menu button twice, you will get into your regular camera settings. Most of these are self-explanatory. I recommend that you format your SD card through this menu before your first use. If you live in North America, leave your frequency at 60 Hz to avoid flickering issues. And finally, if you need to set all of your settings back to default, you can do it from here. Now, you may have noticed that there's no photo settings in there, and that's because to access the photo settings, we have to be in photo mode. In photo mode, when we press the menu button, we can customize the quality of the photos if you want to use the camera for that purpose. You can go up to a maximum of 12 megapixels. If you want to set a timer to get yourself in the picture, you can set one here, as well as set a few basic image settings like your white balance and ISO. When you are in camera mode, the OK button serves as your shutter button. If you want to use digital zoom, you can do so by pushing the directional buttons. Here's a few sample images so that you can see the quality that you can expect, although personally, I will not be using it for this purpose, but it's nice to know that it's there if you want it for this. This dashcam does have Wi-Fi capabilities, and it is much easier to review and transfer files on your phone than on the camera itself. Whether you have an Apple or Android, you can download the Rexing Connect app. When you do, make sure you give the camera all of the permissions that it needs to work properly, like you see right here. Once it's good to go, we're going to turn on the Wi-Fi on the camera by long pressing the OK button. On the camera screen, you will see the network name and the password, and we have to connect to that network on our phones. So I'm going to get into my Wi-Fi settings here and find that network and connect to it. Then I can back out of that menu and open the Rexing Connect app. Right in the middle of the screen, we'll click on Connect, give it a second, and now we're in. As you can see, once you're in, your camera will stream the image to your phone. If you had another camera connected, like this cabin camera, you can switch between them by hitting the Change View button. You can stop the recording and then change into photo mode and then take snapshots right from your phone. If you press the settings tab down here, you can access a limited number of quick settings. It would be nice if this list was complete so that you can do the complete camera setting from your phone, but it is not. If you back out and press the video tab down here, it'll take you to all of the videos in the camera. You can scroll through, and if you find one that you want to review, you can press it and it'll start playing it, which is nice because most phone screens are much larger than the dash cams themselves. If you want, you can share a 5 to 15 second clip by pressing this icon up here. Then you can trim the video, add music if you wish, and then share it on social media. Not something that I personally care about, but it's there. More useful is the ability to long press on the video file that you want and then download it in full resolution to your phone. We can do the same with the photos on the dash cam as well as zoom in on them for review. If you have any video or photos saved directly to your phone, you can view them here even when the camera isn't connected. I wasn't able to get this sharing link to work, and I do not have a profile with Rexing, but you can set one up if you wish to do so. I've now been using this dashcam for a couple of months and I'm very pleased with it. It's a high-end dashcam, so although it's a higher-end camera, I feel like I got my money's worth. The modular aspect to the camera is a great selling point because you're not stuck having to buy a whole new camera if your circumstances change. The video quality is definitely where it should be for the price point of the camera, and built-in GPS and parking monitor are welcome features. To avoid unnecessary problems, it's imperative to use a micro SD card for constant recording. Rexing has a good write-up on their website, so I'm going to link to that in the video description. So if you're wondering what the dashcam audio sounds like straight out of the camera, this is exactly what you can expect. Right now I'm speaking in a conversational tone, so if you're using this dashcam for ride-sharing purposes, this is what the audio sounds like unedited. As of the release of this video, there are a few things that I feel Rexing should fix through firmware updates, like adding more parking modes like the advertised 24-hour recording and the ability to change the parking mode record time. It would also be nice to have circular polarizing filters available to help with glass reflections and higher frame rate shooting modes, even if at a reduced resolution. Also, if possible with the internal hardware, it would be nice to record all 3 cameras at once. Be sure to check out my separate video on the installation of this smart hardwiring kit so you can see how to hardwire this camera and other dash cams for parking mode. I went over a lot of information, but if you have a question still, let me know in the comments section. If you got something out of this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next video.